This is Morgan Freeman. If you enjoy listening to The Edge, support them by subscribing to The Edge on iTunes, Stitcher, and you can listen through the iHeartRadio app. Get busy listening.
This is The Edge.
Edge-show.com.
Edge lubricates as it lathers.
Edge-show.com.
Listen to the foam side, then listen to the edge side.
Edge-show.com.
Foam, edge.
Edge-show.com.
This is The Edge.
Welcome to the show. Mark Thompson here. I want to thank you for joining us. We've got a lot of politics in this 30-minute edition of The Edge. Michael Shure, the political analyst and correspondent, will share some thoughts on the presidential debate. The first one has just concluded. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Also some behind-the-scenes stuff with that as well. We'll check in with J.Elvis Weinstein and Heather Ankeny, and we'll drag Heather and Josh to a conversation with the most fervent Donald Trump supporters this side of Trump campaign director Kellyanne Conway. No matter what Donald Trump says, Diamond and Silk cannot be dissuaded from their fervent support. It's a 30-minute ride with us, and thanks for being along for the whole thing. Welcome to The Edge.
You're listening to The Edge. Join us on the web at edge-show.com.
Time for the Fast 15 with our pal Michael Shure, everyone. Come on, Michael Shure is here. He's back.
Guys, it's me.
Well, they love you. They love politics and everything more, and that's what we do with the Fast 15. Now, before we get to politics, normally we pick up some little thing, mundane, but this week, Major League Baseball lost a very young person, 24-year-old Jose Fernandez, pitcher for the Marlins. And we don't normally start with sort of a downbeat thing like this, but the reaction in the Miami area has been so incredible. And his story, his personal story, is so immensely inspiring that it's worth spending a moment with him, especially since Michael Shure has followed him as part of the Marlins. How did you get connected to that team?
Yeah, I'm a big sports fan, and I was my growing up a Yankees fan in New York, and I know that upsets some people and makes some people love me, but I'm no longer a Yankees fan, and I stopped at different times in my life, but Chris Chambliss, the first baseman, was my favorite player of any sport at any time ever, and he decorated the walls of my room as a kid. And when the Yankees traded him, I left with him, and then I followed his coaching career, hoping he'd manage one day. And then I stopped really following a team in baseball, and I followed my own fantasy team. But I decided that I really wanted a new team because I missed following a team. And our friend Ben Mankiewicz knows that I searched sort of, I took it seriously, my search for the new team, and there were different candidates at different times, the Royals among them. But the Marlins... Wait,
stop for a second.
Yeah.
Did you alert your friends to some text blast that I'm looking for a new team?
No, it wasn't that. There weren't signs in the neighborhood. It was, Ben and I, He's a baseball fan. He's a baseball fan, but he's more than a baseball fan. He is the greatest civilian baseball mind I know, and I think that I know a ton about a game, and I'll go to a game with him, and I will see it in an entirely different light. He should have and maybe will one day be a baseball announcer, because I don't say nice things about Ben all the time about everything because he's not right all the time, but in baseball he's always right. So I picked the Marlins, and I picked the Marlins largely based, and this is going back like 3 years now. This is probably my fourth, and I watch so many of their games. I have the baseball package, and I watch a little bit of about 100 games. I don't watch start to finish many of them, but and I've gotten to be sort of friendly with Rich Waltz, who is their play-by-play guy.
How did you get friendly with the play-by-play
through
guy?
Twitter. We tweeted each other, and then I saw him by coincidence out in L.A., and then he invited me to a Dodgers Marlins game here, and I went. And I haven't been down to Miami to see it during the season to see them. I was down there working a lot this year, but the season hadn't started. But first of all, I love Miami. It had to be a place that I like. I love Miami. I love the Latin influence in baseball. I just love it. And I love the Cuban history with baseball, the mini Minoso, the people who have defected and come here to play ball. And that it's really a revered sport throughout the Castro regime and until today. And I loved Jose Fernandez. I'd never seen anybody throw the ball like this, just perfectly. throw the ball. And so this was part of my sales pitch. And one quick anecdote, I was on a plane, getting off a plane here in Los Angeles, and a guy gets out in front of me, and he's got a Marlins tote bag. And I was like, you don't see a lot of Marlins fans. I mean, you don't see them. First of all, we weren't coming from Miami, and we were in L.A. And I said, hey, go Marlins. And he said, you a fan? And I said, yeah, I'm kind of new to it. I really like them. And I said, are you a fan? He said, I own them. It was Jeffrey Loria. So here I was thinking that I was like the biggest fan, and certainly at LAX that day, a Marlins fan, but I was Jeffrey Loria, the owner, who is a controversial guy. And what's great about Jose Fernandez and, the local appeal of baseball. We talk about like Hank Greenberg when he was the first great Jewish ball player, and there was great Jewish pride, and Cuban pride is really alive in South Florida, and this kid is playing there, and he's bringing Cubans to a team that has had a rocky relationship with that city, from its ownership to its stadium to unloading World Series teams, all of that. And here was this kid who was just simply loved playing baseball. Now, you can say that about anybody, and if he weren't dead, we wouldn't be sitting talking about Jose Fernandez this way. But he was really a good guy with a great story that was so similar to the stories of the fans in which who he played in front of, and that was what's such an amazing thing, coming over on a boat, being a stranger in a strange land, going from Tampa to Miami, and then playing for the Miami Marlins and loving it and being so good. I hadn't seen anybody pitch like that. Of course, his career was short. You don't know that he would have been one of the greatest pitchers ever, but that snapshot of his pitching career, I've never seen anybody pitch better, certainly, than Jose Fernandez.
He was 24 years old.
Right.
And he'd been in the league, 3 years?
Yeah, 3. Well, and he had Tommy John surgery as well, so he came back from that. So he's really been in for like 4 years because there was a year off.
Remind us, because his story is the kind of thing that you hear in legendary immigrant passages.
Right.
Like I'm talking about boat people from Vietnam type passages. And
yeah.
His is one of those.
His is one of those, coming over on a boat a few times, then sent back to Cuba, caught, sent back, and then coming over on a night.
He was jailed, I think, also.
Yeah, exactly. Detained. Yeah, certainly. And coming over in a night passage on a ship where you couldn't see anything because they keep the lights off, so nobody can see you coming across from Cuba to Key West. And somebody fell off the ship. This is at night in shark. I mean, I don't need to sensationalize by saying shark-infested waters, but that trench that goes between the United States and Cuba is known for being, sharky at the very least. He jumps in to save this person, finds out that the person he saved is his mother, who was on a different part of the boat. So he saved his mother's life. They get back on the boat, ends up in Florida. In 2013, his grandmother, who helped raise him in Cuba, was brought over to came over to the United States as well. And so his story is he had nothing. And you saw the people in Miami who were crying and sad, and it wasn't like the hero died. It wasn't typical of that kind of a story, because he meant so much more to that community. He came in for dinner every Sunday night, would come home to his mother and grandmother, and he would go to different Latin players' homes. He was so accessible and so good at the same time, and that was really what made that different. But he had the same story that all the people that watched him had.
Rest in peace, Jose Fernandez. All right, coming off the debate, Michael Shure, political analyst and reporter, you were there covering the debate. I saw a lot of your stuff, and you did something that was really cool, and here's what it was. You took us into the press area where the candidates and their surrogates come. And before anybody's there, it's just all you press people. And as a casual observer, I don't know who anybody is, but you went around the whole room and ID'd everybody. It was the coolest thing. All of a sudden, I knew all the players.
It's fun. I did it before, during, and after. So right before and then right after. I think that one of the great things, we all see the debate. We all know the spin. We can write the script of most of it right beforehand, right? I mean, you know that what the reactions are going to be from certain people. You know how different networks are going to cover it, but nobody really has an idea of how the media watches this stuff and how people who are there, nobody's in the debate hall except the invited guests, the ticketed guests, some people from the campaigns, and no one else. So there's not press in there. There's usually a pool person, which is one person from the press who goes in there and kind of reports, what's happening in there on behalf of others.
I want everybody to hear that. There is no press in the actual debate hall. all the press is outside, save maybe one pool reporter.
Yeah, we're all at a watch party, basically. That's basically what it is. And it's a watch party made up of people who are being paid to be there for their reactions and their takes on it. And the print people are there long after everybody else leaves because they're filing and they're writing their pieces. Some of this one, what was amazing about this was the number of foreign press that were there from every country you could imagine, which is very different. I've been to almost all the debates in the 2016 election, Republican, Democratic, and now this general. And you never saw as many foreign press. I was kind of with the foreign press for a while in a way, but this now it's being covered in so many different languages. But there is a ritual to it.
And by the way, that's all because of Trump.
It's all because of Trump. Yeah, I mean, I think it's all because of Trump.
If Marco Rubio were the nominee,
no, but I think the U.S. presidential election is a compelling thing for the world. I think it matters. I think that's a little bit of why you're seeing it. I think the other thing is people are now knowing who Trump is in the way we knew who Berlusconi was in Italy, but not everybody knows who Berlusconi is in Italy. It was the people that were paying attention to it. But you're right. I think, though, that these things are probably heavily covered by the foreign press anyway, now that it gets to the general election.
By the way, would Berlusconi be a better president than Donald Trump for the U.S.?
Yeah, probably. Berlusconi was a better businessman, it seems. And, and he was his downfall was his womanizing.
He made Trump look like a Cub Scout.
Right, exactly. But that's Italy, too. It's a little bit of what's acceptable. They don't have the puritanical expectations that we artificially have here.
I flip my hand at you, Donald Trump. You're a rookie. You're a nothing. Come to Italy. I have a real party.
That's exactly right. Now, if Trump ran in Italy, he'd probably do pretty well. But anyway, so it's a lot of fun. And you see all these people and all these characters, and some of them are the same, and some of them get their credentials in different ways, from students to faculty to Orthodox Jews to conservatives to liberals to Muslims. Everybody is in that room, and they're all trying to get a take that's a little bit different than everybody else's.
It is a rugby scrum of media.
Yeah.
And somehow you exist really well in all of that. It would drive me a little bit crazy because you're being elbowed and pushed and all these different things are going on.
You have to look at it as kind of fun, too. You're also among who you look up to in your business. So, Bob Schieffer's in the room and Dan Balls of the Washington Post is in the room. And, they're smart people. Karen Tumulty of the Washington Post. There's very, very smart people who are doing their jobs, and you want to see how they work too. I want to see what Dan Balls is doing. I'm watching him. I'm watching what his take is early, middle, beforehand. He's tweeting, he's texting, all of that. So I think it's important for making your job better, but it's also kind of fun.
Let me run this by you. I watched the debate in a large room filled with hundreds of mostly Trump supporters. I was at an event for the broadcast entity. They are very much listened to by a large sort of right-wing audience. But in addition to that, to be fair to them, because there are a lot of people who are not right-wing who listen to the station as well, they were doing this in Orange County, which is really a juicy red target for... the point is you're very likely to see that kind of crowd turn out. That kind of crowd did turn out. There were such great enthusiasts there for Trump that I couldn't even hear a lot of what Hillary Clinton had to say because the booing was so loud. So it made me realize two things that I wanted to ask you about. One is something that we saw in pre-debate polling, which was that people are all going to watch this thing. Most of them, nothing is going to change them from the opinion they already have.
Right.
Number two, this is theater. This is not a debate. There's some information, and there's certainly opportunity to be tripped up if you don't have the information. But in the world of theater, Donald Trump has the edge. Do you agree with that? Is there some truth to the supposition? What do you think?
I'll go in reverse order. So, yeah, I think that this is theater. But I think presidential debates since, Lincoln Douglas was theater. There's a part of that. You're appealing to voters. You can't just sit there and be a policy wonk because the theater isn't there. And the best example of that will be the next debate, which is the vice presidential debate in Virginia. It's going to be terrible theater, most likely, right? Making those things interesting. It's happened very rarely. Lloyd Benson did it to Dan Quayle. But for the most part, those are really dull, and that doesn't sell, right? It's also the vice presidential debate, so of course it's not going to be as important. But the theater of it is what brings people in. And if it weren't theatrical, yes. And Donald Trump has been on the theater stage for a very long time in many different ways. He's put himself there. NBC has put him there, and now the Republican Party has put him there. So he is old hat at that. And it's different than just coming up and giving a speech, which is what Hillary Clinton has done. So he does have an advantage going in. Going back to your first point about you're not going to change any minds, I think every debate and every election gets different things out of debates, right? So I think this election and these sets of debates, certainly the first one, wasn't about changing minds. Donald Trump needs to win more voters over. He needs to get people to support him. Hillary Clinton needs to appeal to a lackadaisical, an uninspired wing of her party. So their roles were very different. She was very successful the other night in doing that, and at least, and we don't know in numbers, but at least doing what she had to do. Donald Trump was not. There's no one who watched that debate and said, okay, now I'm ready to support Donald Trump. He needs to grow his numbers or else he can't become president. Hillary Clinton needs to energize her numbers, and then it'll be a lot easier for her to be president. And so what she did is she gave a nod in many ways, not all across the board, to the issues that Black Americans, that Bernie Sanders supporters, mostly millennials, and Hispanic Americans, to lesser degree because it wasn't brought up as much, are looking for and getting excited about Hillary Clinton.
In the next debate, it seems almost a foregone conclusion that he is going to come out like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
That could also be dangerous.
It could be. I mean, nobody knows what that's worked for him in all year long.
And what does that mean?
Yeah, and we don't know what it means. It certainly means something different in a general election than it does among the Republican Party, because he's now playing to a different audience than he was when he was running in the primaries, and he's playing to a crowd that that can look at only him. Before you had 17 and then 14 and then 12 and then 6, there were other people that the audience was looking to and fact-checking and saying, oh, Rubio did well tonight. Oh, Chris Christie slammed him. Oh, Kasich might be the best person for us. Now there's only one other person. And Donald Trump is it's hard to imagine, but he's under a bigger microscope now. And those things that he talks about, this is what I found so interesting the other night, and he can't get away with this again. So no matter how much bluster he comes out with, he can't criticize someone for having a plan. That's never happened in a presidential debate, right? He criticized his opponent for having a plan about something when he was talking about how to get rid of ISIS. That's what you do in debates, and that's what you do in elections. He also bragged about not paying taxes and not paying people who worked for him. That's going to come back. He's going to have to answer substantive questions. So he can do the braggadocio stuff. He can go after Hillary Clinton in personal ways. I was surprised he hasn't gone after her speeches. The speeches she gave to Wall Street. I'd expect you'll see him doing that, which he didn't do. But I don't know, Mark, what he gains by too much of it. I don't know what you gain by criticizing Bill Clinton's womanizing and how that has anything to do with Hillary Clinton. And I don't see that.
I was listening to an analyst, and he was making a lot of all the things you can criticize about Hillary Clinton. But I thought to myself, at some point, don't you sit back as a voter and go, yeah, you can't run the country once you're president on, good evening, my fellow Americans. Don't we all hate Hillary and are glad that she's not here? Yeah, you're president now. That's done. What is your plan for the country? And so the lather that electorate gets up, the anti-Hillary electorate gets into, doesn't seem to look toward the next step.
No, and most especially are these new voters who I've called naive before, and it's not necessarily true to call them naive. I think naive is not necessarily a criticism. When you're 23 and you're voting for the first time, or you're 18 and you're voting for the first time, you're by definition naive. You haven't followed this as long as a lot of other people have. And of course, it's changed. But yeah, I mean, there has to be an understanding. And the problem the Democrats have is that understanding is not inherent with younger voters. There has to be an understanding that it does matter. It's not just about defeating Hillary Clinton because you're working against yourself. And that's why, I think that's why you see dwindling numbers for Jill Stein. But I think it goes back to what I was saying just before, which is that's what Hillary Clinton's job is to do now, is to make those people understand, make those millennials, make those black voters, many of whom voted for the very first time and second time for Barack Obama, meaning voting against her in 2008. I think you have to energize that part of your electorate, and you're going to be okay. I still think that Hillary Clinton's going to win and win handily, but I think that that's what the debate showed, and I think she played it well, and he played it in a terribly unprepared way and not understanding what he needed to do.
Michael Shure, thank you. Michael Shure, everybody. Come on.
Thank you.
Michael
Thanks,
Shure.
everyone. No, really.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
This is The Edge. Edge-show.com.
I'm Mark Thompson. I'm here with J.Elvis, Weinstein, Josh.
Hi.
Heather Ankeny.
Hi.
You know her from Rizzoli and Isles and from many shows.
I hope you don't know me from Rizzoli and Isles.
Well, how's Angie doing?
You know what? I think she's settling into post-Rizzoli and Isles life just fine.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's Angie Harmon. Who's your favorite person that you've worked with, Heather, like your favorite co-star?
Oh, my gosh. I know who my least favorite is.
All right,
but
we'll
that
start
was
there.
bad because I'm not going to say her name out loud.
Oh, it was a her, though.
It was a her.
You're okay. You're in the clear.
What do you mean?
I just
You
excluded
thought it
him
might be
from
me.
the list. Yeah.
Mark, never.
No.
I don't really know. The most fun I had was a director on a commercial, actually. It was this Chili's commercial we did, and his name, named Neil Tardio. I think he was actually married to Taya Leone before she was married to David Duchovny.
An actress marrying a director? I've never heard of that.
But then it was really crazy because his brother was that guy who stole the Ferrari and crashed it on PCH.
Oh, yeah.
And he ended up adopting his brother's kids. And he was telling us the story on set. I really zagged because really it was just one of the most fun days. And he was a fantastic director. And he's known for not being the nicest. You know, he's just very, I don't know, he can rub people the wrong way, but we all just had an absolute blast.
Cool.
Yeah.
I did a voiceover for a Chili's commercial once, speaking of Chili's
You did?
commercials. And the only reason I mention it is that the guy who was directing that commercial, he was wanting a certain thing, which is, of course, what everybody wants who's directing a commercial, has something in mind, from the voiceover guy. So I'm there and trying to give him what he wants. And I'm totally cool with it. Like, I don't have a problem with somebody giving me a line read. I don't care. So he comes into the studio, and he's there with me while I'm reading it. And then he started doing it, doing this big sort of theatrical. I remember thinking to myself, wow, he should just do it because he wants to do it,
Right.
clearly. You know what I mean?
Right.
And ultimately, we got the spot down. It was really a great spot. It was about these aliens coming down to Earth and finding Chili's. But I just remember that it was a long shoot with this guy in there next to me in the booth the whole time. And those voiceover booths are not very big.
Right.
We're alternating doing the spot, sort of.
That's
And
so funny.
It was very funny, yeah. I wasn't bothered by it. I actually just felt, I feel bad. I think this guy really wants to do it. I wish he would just do it.
Well, you're a professional voiceover guy as opposed to an actor doing it too, which is a different vibe when you're giving an actual not to demean what you're doing in any way, but like when you're giving an actor a line
I didn't
read.
feel demeaned until you said not to demean what you did.
But I just mean when you give an actor a line read, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I've always heard that, of course. I've heard now both sides of that. I've heard big actors say, I don't care if somebody gives me a line read. Tell me how you hear it.
I say it all the time.
Yeah.
Especially if it seems really insignificant. It's the difference between getting a line read on, I don't know, something that's super emotional or blah, but like you, there'll be a time where they're spending 15 minutes trying to get me to say something, direct me. I'm like, just go ahead, just give me a line read.
I'll say
fine.
this. I listen, and this also is because I'm sort of an auditory connection person. I listen to a lot of these actors as they act brilliantly, but then they will emphasize the wrong word in a sentence, and it ruins the scene for me. I mean, it's as though that's how I can tell you're reciting it, because you've not said that sentence in a way that anybody would ever say that sentence.
Have you ever heard the celebrities at their worst with Shatner in the booth? Spock, sabotage the system.
Yeah, that's very
what's
famous.
that? No, what?
He's doing voiceover for the Star Trek animated series, and he's doing a line, Spock, sabotage the system. And you hear, it's sabotage. I say sabotage. You may say sabotage. I say sabotage. Sabotage the system.
Spock, sabotage the system. Observations, Mr. Spock.
Okay, can we have line 193 again with sabotage, cannot sabotage?
I don't say sabotage. You say sabotage. I say sabotage.
It became this rant of William Shatner's passive-aggressive power, which I actually got into a fight with him once doing a sketch on later with Greg Kinnear once.
Did you
with,
really?
No way.
With William Shatner?
With William Shatner. He just got into this passive-aggressive snit. We had this sketch for him, and it really was, at a certain point, I was going, okay, we don't have to do it, but stop pretending like you don't get it.
Oh, wow. Really kind of squared off with him.
I really did, and I'm not sure why, but he came at me at such an angle, at such a patronizing and passive-aggressive angle, that I kind of dug in myself.
I'm always shocked. When I first started out in town, I got my SAG card. I was a stand-in on Chicago Hope. Remember that doctor show?
Sure.
And I remember watching the nicest guy on the planet, Adam Arkin. Right? Alan Arkin's son, but I mean, I guess he's more than, he's just fantastic person. I watched him get in a fight with the director, and it's the first, I mean, I'm new to town anyway, right? And you hear about that kind of stuff, but watching the two of them go at it.
Yeah.
And both of them really believing what they, and it was over a scene and the sort of interpretation of it, you know?
And that's one of those situations in show business where the director loses no matter what.
Right, because the actor either walks away or does what they're going to do.
Well, and the director's gone next week, too.
It's true.
It's a different director coming in, and the same actor's going to be there. It's his set.
that's true. On a series.
And I think he was,
There's no win in having that fight if you're a director.
I think he might have been number one on the call sheet, actually, too.
Sure,
Alan Arkin, right? Of Chicago Hope?
Adam Arkin was,
Or Adam,
Yeah, he was basically the star of the show,
It was crazy.
So you don't, as a director coming in as a guest on a set, there's just no winning that, because you've lost him one way, either physically or emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'd been on that show for a little while at that point. I'd certainly never seen Adam on or off set even raise his voice. And so I felt, this is like when dad gets mad, You're like, I got to listen now. Dad's the one yelling.
It's really interesting on a series because you see at least a half dozen directors will cycle through, and sometimes there's way more on a show. But to watch how the cast each week will react to that director who's, coming into this loaded situation every time. And sometimes it's like, it's instant love and they're like, tell me what to do. And sometimes it's just like, this guy doesn't get it. He doesn't know the show. He doesn't,
As Josh says, there's almost no percentage in taking on the top guy in any kind of, I'm not here to,
not if it gets to that level.
I'm not here to redirect the show. I'm here to direct the show.
But I wonder also if, I feel like that was one of those like Botchko productions, but not Botchko, but in that realm of David E. Kelly and Botchko.
Yeah, there was a big showrunner behind Chicago Hope. I can't remember.
Yeah. So I feel like maybe that, I don't remember who the director was, but could it be that was one, like the person who wrote it also is directing it? Or a showrunner situation or?
Maybe.
Yeah.
The director has to answer to the showrunner anyway. So.
Yeah.
You see that 50-year-old guy died who's the showrunner on NCIS?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Just now?
Yeah. Gary Glassberg's his name.
He's
a showrunner, and they say he just died suddenly on the set in New Orleans.
Oh, no.
So.
50?
Yeah. And that's exactly what I want to say to all of you out there is, seize life, seize the day, all that stuff. And if you haven't contributed to our show yet, you may not be here to make the contribution that you've been putting off for a long time. So I want you to hit that PayPal key and feel good about sending along a little something to our show.
And leave a little something in our will, like on NPR.
It's
the edgenuity.
Yeah, thank you. We're at edge-show.com. And thank you for shopping Amazon through our website. All right, now on with the show. Diamond and Silk?
Hey!
I'm curious what your take on the debate was.
Oh, listen, I believe Donald Trump won those debates. Lester Hall, I was a little taken back by the fact that he asked Donald Trump about the birthday issue, but failed to ask Hillary Clinton about the email issue, the 33 emails, why she couldn't remember nothing, how she didn't understand that C stands for classified. He didn't ask her those questions, but he had the nerve to bring up the birthday issue. One thing that I need to let everybody know, we don't care about no birthday issue. We care about good jobs. We care about border security. We care about our country thriving again. So overall, Donald Trump won those debates.
Yes, he did.
Were there moments, though, that you cringed? Even his staunch supporters have talked about the fact that he missed an opportunity or he kind of got off message.
He didn't miss no opportunity. Listen to me. Y'all got to know how to fight. Okay, listen to me. This is what he was doing.
Right.
You don't put all of your eggs in one basket and you don't lay all of your cards on one table.
That's right.
You give them a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And then the next debate will be a little bit. It'll be better than the last one.
That's right.
That's how you do it. You don't give everybody the ammunition to have something to counter attack.
That's right.
You don't. That ain't how you fight. You got to know how to fight.
Hillary Clinton laid all her cards out.
She laid all her cards on the table.
I don't think she did.
Gonna have
I think
for
she's
the
got a lot of cards left.
ISIS know where she would going to do? So silly. Listen, when you are debating somebody and you're debating them for the first time, you don't put all of your cards on the table because now they have counter-attack answers to come back at you with.
Right.
So you lay low and you give them a little bit. Now we're ready for round 2.
That's right.
He got 2 more. He got 2 more rounds, baby. You know, sister doing a knockout punch in 1 round.
Will he prepare for the next 2 rounds a little better than this one?
He will do what he has to do to win the debate again.
Right.
I believe that he prepared. I believe he was prepared enough. Yes.
I didn't get that sense, but okay.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't, but we did. And a lot of the polls did, too, because if you notice, a lot of the polls showed him winning, like he won the debate.
Well, there were surveys,
Well, you know, he's got that sort of junkyard dog quality, which is very tough to fight.
Well, you can call him what you want him, but he knows how to debate, and he knows how to counterattack. You come at him, he going to say what he has to say, and if it stings, then oh well. Get over the sting. Put some alcohol on it and cover it up with a Band-Aid, because we got 2 more rounds to go, boo.
And this is a brand new ball game that the career politicians are playing with an outsider.
That's right, babe. You got to know how to play this game.
That's right.
I know that I can't find anything about him that bothers you, but let me just mention something that I find it bothersome, and maybe I'm wondering if it moves your meter at all. And it's this, the taxes. Does it make you a little queasy that he doesn't release his taxes?
No. We don't care about no taxes. Don't you realize that? People don't care about his taxes, so what?
Right.
So what? Can you build that wall so that illegal immigrants won't cross that border, and when they come in our country and come in illegal, you got my vote. Can you renegotiate these trade deals where our good jobs won't be leaving this country? You got my vote. We want to hear about that. These are the taxes, and this here Hillary Clinton tracking down Miss Universe. If she got the money and the power to track down Miss Universe, why don't she track down them 33,000 emails that's gone? Track that down.
Well, one thing I love is the fire that never dies in Diamond and Silk. And it's great to talk to you. Again, I wake up to you the Diamond and Silk mug that I drink coffee from.
Do you really?
I do. I got
great.
it on their website. And Heather, I have one for you.
So wonderful.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, darling.
Diamond and Silk, give me the website again, please.
www.diamondandsilk.com and visit the Diamond and Silk store, diamondandsilkstore.com.
We'll talk soon. Thank you, Diamond and Silk.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you using the Amazon link?
We have it, but I don't mention it. I don't push it enough. I don't push a lot of stuff. Like, I haven't virtually ever mentioned our Twitter account.
What's your website?
It's edge-show.com. Edge-show.com.
Well, if you enjoy listening to this program, and I see no reason you shouldn't, because, you know, it's not like I'm on all the time. You go to edge-show.com, and you'll see Amazon links, and you do all your Amazon shopping via that web address.
Edge-show.com.
And there's a little cookie, and they'll credit Mark, and he'll get a tiny percentage of your shopping spree.
But it won't change your Amazon experience one little bit.
And it won't be more expensive.
Right.
It'll actually cut into Amazon's profits.
True. Without cutting into your bottom line.
So in a way, you're helping Main Street.
Oh, that's a really great...
By hurting Amazon, you're taking money out of Jeff Bezos' pocket and putting it into Mark Thompson's.
It's like taking back one piece of brick and a little bit of mortar.
Uh-huh.
Well, we appreciate any support that anyone shows us, but you mention it and you do it seamlessly on your show, and I don't mention it enough.
Well, it's hard to ask for things.
Yeah, exactly.
You know who told me that? Bill Cosby.
Get more of The Edge on Stitcher and iTunes, or go to our website, edge-show.com.